My wife has started a game where she just stares at me from hiding places in our own house. I thought it was a weird joke at first. Now I'm in a motel with stitches in my back, my phone on silent, and I'm pretty sure she's outside my door. My wife Lynn and I have been together for 6 years, married for 11 months. In all that time, she was the most normal, grounded person I'd ever met. No horror, no pranks, no creepy jokes. She couldn't even finish The Shining with me. No mental health issues, nothing in the family, nothing. That's important to understand, because what she's doing now doesn't feel like her at all. It started 2 months ago. I was late for work, rushing out of the kitchen with a coffee in my hand when I saw her. Just her eyes and a strand of her dark hair peeking around the hallway corner. The rest of her body was hidden. I jumped, spilled coffee, burned my lip. "Jesus, Lynn, you scared the shit out of me," I laughed. The second I said it, she disappeared. Like a kid who got caught, she snapped back behind the wall and scurried off. By the time I reached the door, she was gone. It was weird. Totally unlike her. But she laughed when I called her a weirdo and said I loved her, and by the time I came home, she was completely normal. We didn't talk about it, life went on. 3 nights later, around 2 a.m., I woke up thirsty and went down to the kitchen. I was half asleep, drinking orange juice at the island when I felt it. That heavy feeling of being watched. I glanced around the room, nothing. For some reason, I looked down. My wife's face was staring up at me from the other side of the island. Flat on the floor, eyes wide, unblinking. Mouth stretched into this huge, unnatural grin. I screamed. Not playfully, pure fear. The moment I yelled, she shot backwards out of sight, scrambling on all fours, her hands and feet slapping against the tile as she crawled away. I just stood there breathing, staring at the empty space where her face had been. When I finally went back upstairs, she was in bed, on her side, breathing softly like she'd been asleep for hours. I watched her chest rise and fall. No twitch, no smile, nothing. In the morning, over coffee, I tried to keep it light. "What was that last night?" I asked. "You were peeking at me from the floor." She frowned like she had no idea what I was talking about. Then she looked at the spot and burst out laughing. "You creep me the fuck out sometimes, you know that," I said. She hugged me and said, "You creep me out all the time, so I guess we're even." I told myself she was just trying to be playful, trying to share my love for horror. But it didn't feel playful, it felt wrong. After that, it became a pattern. I'd be walking past the living room and see one eye watching me between the curtains. Or I'd turn around and she'd be halfway hidden behind the couch, half her face visible, that same stretched grin. The worst was her grandmother's old trunk at the foot of our bed. I heard the old hinges creak one night and looked over. The lid was cracked open, just enough for one of her eyes to peek through. Grinning, completely still, just watching me. "Lynn, what are you doing?" I asked. She didn't answer. The lid just slowly lowered, closing her inside the trunk. I walked away, disturbed as hell. Then suddenly it stopped. No more peeking, no more smiles, 2 full weeks of normal. One night on the couch, I joked, "Haven't seen you creeping around lately. Guess you quit your little spy game." She looked at me with this tiny smile and said, "Maybe I've just gotten better at it." I laughed it off, but those words stayed in my head. Was she staring at me when my back was turned? Behind doors, under the bed. I started checking corners, glancing behind furniture like a paranoid kid. Eventually, a few quiet weeks went by and I forced myself to stop. I told myself it was over. Then it got worse. Lynn said she was going to a friend's house one evening. I stayed home, gamed for a bit, then jumped in the shower around 9 p.m. Eyes closed, hot water, shampoo in my hair. And that feeling hit me again. I opened my eyes. Lynn's entire head was inside the shower, pushed through the curtain. Body still outside. Hair dripping, plastered to the plastic. Eyes bloodshot and huge, not blinking. Mouth gaping open in this twisted, almost shaking grin. Mascara had run in 2 black rivers down her cheeks. She didn't move. She just stared. I screamed and pressed myself against the wall. She kept smiling. After a few seconds, she slowly slid her head back out of the shower. Her blurry shape retreated toward the door. Then the bathroom door slammed, shut so hard the mirror rattled. I jumped out, locked it, and stayed in there for over an hour. Angry, scared, confused all at once. Finally, I pressed my ear to the door. Silence. "What the fuck, Lynn?" I shouted. "This shit isn't funny anymore." A faint sound came from the other side, a low, breathy moan, then nothing. My heart was pounding. I was too scared to open the door, too angry to stay. After another 30 minutes, I decided I had to leave. I got down on my knees and looked under the door. I could see the hallway, the top of the stairs. No feet, no shadow. I unlatched the door, ready to sprint. Then I heard it again, closer. A low, excited moan, but this time it wasn't coming from the hall. It was coming from inside the bathroom. I turned my head slowly, toward the closet door. The closet was open just a crack. In that narrow gap, inches away from me, Lynn's eye was staring back at me, wide and shining. Her mouth hung open in that grotesque smile, stretching so far I could see the tendons in her jaw. Her shoulders trembled, hands clasped under her chin like she could barely contain how happy she was. I didn't scream. I just ran. I tore the bathroom door open, bolted down the stairs, grabbed my keys and phone from the table, and sprinted out of the house. Her laughter followed me into the yard, high and shrill, but I didn't look back. I drove 40 minutes in wet hair and boxers straight to my brother Chris's place. He lent me clothes, tried to ask what happened. I just said we'd had a fight. I crashed on his couch, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw her in the closet. Realizing she'd been in there the whole time, that she'd slammed the bathroom door from inside. It made my skin crawl. I finally knocked out from exhaustion. When I woke up, the sun was barely up. I stared at the ceiling, trying to decide if I should call her. Then that familiar feeling came back, that heavy, prickling sense of being watched. My eyes slowly drifted to the window beside the couch. Lynn's face was pressed against the glass from outside. That same stretched smile. Drool had smeared down the window in 2 long, shiny streaks. I don't know how long she'd been there watching me sleep. I pounded the glass. "Lynn, what is wrong with you? Go home now." She didn't move, didn't blink. Her smile just got whiter. I heard my brother and his wife moving upstairs. The second they spoke, Lynn's eyes flicked upward toward their voices, and her mouth slowly closed. By the time Chris came downstairs, she was gone. Only the drool streaks were left on the glass. They thought I dreamt it. We went outside, no footprints in the dirt, nothing. I stayed another night. I finally called her mother the next day, desperate. Marion is cold. She's always been distant, but she's still Lynn's mom. I asked if she'd ever seen anything like this, any mental illness, anything. Her voice stayed flat until I said, "Mental health." Then her tone changed, just a little tight-clipped. "If you're truly concerned, seek professional help," she said. "Do not call here again." And hung up. Those words stuck with me. Seek professional help. Not a doctor, not a therapist, just that phrase like she was trying to say more without saying it. Eventually, Chris agreed to come back to the house with me during the day. At least I wouldn't be alone. The front door was ajar when we pulled up. The house reeked. All the curtains were shut. It felt abandoned. We checked room by room. Every corner, every door. Upstairs, I stepped on shattered glass on the stairs. One of our wedding photos had been smashed, the glass gone, the frame crooked on the wall. Our smiling faces stared back at me. Lynn looked so normal in that picture, so sane. In our bedroom closet, I found the source of the smell. On the floor, carefully laid out in pairs, were eyeballs. At least a dozen, different sizes, some tiny like marbles, some as big as a quarter. They were glossy and collapsing, little puddles of rot soaking into the rug. I gagged, Chris nearly puked. "She doesn't need help," he muttered. "She needs a fucking exorcist." I shut the closet, picked up my duffel. We were halfway into the hallway when I felt it again. Being watched. Slowly, I turned back toward the bed. Underneath it, curled on her side like a child hiding in a game, was my wife. Hands pressed under her chin, shaking with excitement. Eyes huge and shining, mouth open in that dead, cracked smile. She made these soft little hiccuping sounds, like she was trying not to giggle. "Lynn," I said. Her head bobbed in 2 sharp little nods. "I just want to help you, okay? I love you." I took a step closer. Blood covered her hands, dripping down her wrists. It smeared her chin when her fingers twitched. Up close, she smelled like the closet, rotten, sweet chemical. I had to fight the urge to back away. I reached out stupidly to take her hand. Her arm snapped forward faster than I could react. Hot pain tore across my forearm. I fell back and saw the blood pouring down my arm. In her fist, she held a long shard of glass. "You okay?" Chris called from the hall. I nodded, clutching my arm, eyes locked on her. But she wasn't looking at me anymore. Her gaze had shifted past me, to my brother. She crawled out from under the bed in one smooth movement, still on all fours, then slowly stood in the doorway, glass clenched in her fist, shoulders trembling. Her grin stretched wider and wider, until it looked like her jaw would snap. "Chris, move," I whispered. He froze. "Jesus, Lynn, you are playing hide and seek." I shoved him toward the stairs. She tilted her head, bobbing it again in those quick, jerky motions, then sprinted. We flew down the steps. I hit the front door as her weight slammed onto my back, arms around my neck, her open mouth right next to my ear. Those excited, broken little sounds rattled in my skull. I threw her off, stumbled outside, and we both ran for the car. By the time I looked back, she was gone. I got 11 stitches in my arm and 3 in my back. The police searched the house. No sign of her. They told me to stay with someone, file a restraining order. I checked into a motel an hour away instead. I thought maybe the cops would find her. Maybe this would finally end. 40 minutes ago, I got a text from an unknown number. 3 words. "I found you."